I'm Ryan Dukarm from Inside the Pylon, and welcome to the first ever edition of Y Option. This is a draft-centered series I'm going to be doing, focusing on the tight end position. It's modeled after Mark Schofield's First Sound series, where he looks at quarterbacks for the upcoming NFL draft. I'm going to be doing this all throughout the pre-college season process this fall and summer, through the college season itself with some new tape coming out, and then into the pre-draft process next spring. I'm going to be covering tight ends and safeties for the 2018 Inside the Pylon Draft Guide, so hopefully a similar series will be coming out soon, looking at safety prospects. Today we're going to be looking at Dallas Goedert, the tight end from South Dakota State University, specifically his body control. Goedert made some headlines last season from SDSU for some really impressive one-handed catches, going up in the air and snagging some off-target throws. So body control is definitely something I expected when putting on his tape for some summer scouting leading up to his final season at South Dakota State, and I came away very impressed with his body control, which is why I want to show it today on this episode of Y Option. This first play from Goedert comes from South Dakota State's game against North Dakota State. South Dakota State's in the red zone, as you can see. Goedert is in line, but in a 2-point stance. He's going to be running a little seam route here, coming up the field and just getting inside. The two guys he needs to worry about on this play are these two North Dakota State linebackers. North Dakota State's running essentially a zone scheme, but it ends up being man with essentially this alignment here. This man's going to be covering Goedert here, and then over here it's going to be man as well. So, as I said, this player right here is going to be covering Goedert, and this linebacker here is going to be dropping straight back, so Goedert is going to need to adjust to a high pass from the quarterback and sort of contort his body to make the catch, which he does. So if we run it here, as you can see, Goedert high points this ball absolutely perfectly right here where he catches it. Take it frame by frame. That's totally full extension here. You can see the ball's up here. A good throw from the quarterback where nobody else could touch it other than Goedert. You can see his leaping ability and the way he adjusts both above and behind him, thrown a bit behind him by the quarterback to get over these two linebackers here. So that's the first play looking at Goedert's body control, and it's obviously impressive. This next one, also same game, in the red zone again. Goedert now is lined up in line in a 3-point stance. Here, similar route, he's going to run a little seam route, split these two linebackers, and get vertical. So we'll run it here. Now obviously this is not a leaping grab like the last time, but this end zone camera shows a really nice nuanced play from Goedert. So Goedert's going to be coming in right over here on the edge of the screen. So we take it a little bit farther. One thing I like from him here is at the catch point, he's throwing a bit behind him. If this throws out here, this is an easy catch. There's no body control needed. Goedert gets up just enough to secure the catch here. Ball's thrown a little behind him. What I like is, if you take it frame by frame, he immediately brings it into his chest. So we run this at full speed here. You can see how quickly Goedert catches here. Knows that this safety here is going to be coming in. So if he leaves this ball out there for too long and he struggles, he bobbles with this catch, the ball's getting knocked out and it's going to be incomplete. Instead, he immediately brings it right into his frame. The safety swipes but gets nothing because Goedert is so quick and so controlled with his movement. So again, that's a couple of plays now. First one we saw him adjust really well to a high thrown ball, got up, high pointed the ball perfectly. On that first play as well, he adjusted behind him a bit just as he did here. So 2 areas Goedert's shown he can win adjusting to the football and controlling his body. This third play later in the game, Goedert's right here. Again, from a 2-point stance in line, he's going to be getting vertical in between these 2 linebackers. So I'm going to come here. And get vertical right down the seam. So again, Goedert adjusts really well behind him. Another well-placed throw from the quarterback. As you can see right here, Goedert's essentially in a triangle. This player here, this linebacker, and this linebacker, this safety, excuse me. So if we take it frame by frame, Goedert gets up, adjusts behind him, with contact imminent, this linebacker's about to hit him. Gets behind him, gets it into his frame, balanced, hauls it in, and then, to boot, is able to keep his balance and get downfield for some yards after the catch. There's one more time at full speed. Gets vertical, adjusts behind him, hauls it in quickly. And that's something you see with Goedert a lot. So when he catches the ball away from his frame, he gets it into his body, right in his gut really quickly, which is something I really liked about his game. So now, looking at the situation for some context, 13-17, South Dakota State's down. Under 2 minutes left. I believe we're on the 20 here, so it's in the red zone. I didn't highlight him in this video, but Goedert essentially willed his team to the 20-yard line here. Excuse me. He caught a screen, he took a jet sweep, he got them down the field essentially. So now, game on the line in a big rivalry game, obviously. Goedert's just going to take a little sit route underneath, and again, adjust to a high-thrown ball really well. This is a simple route. He's open here. This guy's here, he's open. And this throw's high. And now if we look at it frame by frame, and that's a full extension, right? He's completely vertical. One thing I like is he's not jumping way too high and then catching it around his helmet or his shoulder pads. If you're jumping, you want to be high pointing the ball and jumping as little as possible to catch it at the top. So that's what he does here. Catches. And as you can see, he's not even on the ground yet. If you look at his feet right here. And he's already got the ball in his frame, which is something I've mentioned a couple times now. Gets the ball into his frame, balanced through contact, falls forward. Later on, he catches a tight end screen and gets South Dakota State right down to the 2-yard line right after that play. So North Dakota State was a really great game for Goedert. Next play I wanted to look at is from their game against Southern Illinois. So Goedert is right here, sort of a wing-back position. It's going to be just a post route. And again, you're going to notice him adjusting high and a little behind him. So he's going to get vertical here. And then at this safety, who I believe is in man coverage, just going to break it off into post. So he gets vertical outside the linebacker, cuts it in, adjusts high, bursts for the touchdown. So we'll bring it back. One thing I like here is how he adjusts this route. He doesn't take it straight like this. Bends it outside this linebacker so they can't affect the route. Gets vertical and cuts it underneath the safety. So we'll watch it again. Breaking here. Got his eyes back to the quarterback. Ball's right here. We'll go frame by frame. Again, obviously the video quality is not great, but you can see here he's vertical, right? He's a vertical line with his body. He's not jumping way out of the, way off the field to catch it around his shoulders or anything. He's high pointing the ball perfectly, and common theme that I've been talking about, brings it right into his frame before he hits the ground, which allows him to immediately burst past the safety for a touchdown. So now I got another angle at it here. So you can see, he's pretty much vertical here. Obviously his arms are bent a little. It doesn't even look like he's totally off the ground. And he's got it into his frame. Bringing it in. And the acceleration is really nice too. So those are some of the really nice adjustments he had throughout this season, the 2016 season for South Dakota State. Almost all of them you could see his high pointing ability, his body control to get up, not over jump and make it a more difficult catch. High point the ball. He's got really nice hands. And you saw him adjust multiple times to throws behind him. He was able to contort, get his hands back, but then bring it into his frame immediately so he doesn't risk any defensive back or linebacker breaking up the pass. So this last play is from South Dakota State's game against Drake. This is probably a play most people have seen, but again, just incredible body control and hands from Goedert. Is this one-handed catch. So a couple angles added here. Besides the incredible catch here, right? Just total one-handedness. You can see here, gets up, he's got his body under control, and then he gets 2 feet in bounds. Only need one in college. He's got it here. He's got the wherewithal to fall, hold onto the ball, and get 2 feet in bounds. And you can see he's secured that the whole time. Again, like we've been talking about, this is a bit of a different situation, but he is just totally vertical here. That line wasn't very vertical that I drew, but he's totally vertical here. He's got it high pointed here, and then he's able to get his feet in bounds. So that is the first episode of Y Option, where we're looking at Dallas Goedert's body control. Just to review, really his body control and his hands are the top traits I saw on film from Goedert. Really common for him to be able to adjust to high thrown balls thrown behind him. South Dakota State's quarterback tended to do that a little. He sailed it, threw it a little bit behind receivers, and you could see how well Goedert adjusted to that. He was able to adjust his hands, high point the ball, jump the correct amount, bring it into his frame quickly right after. So really something I liked from Goedert, and he had really soft hands on all these plays. Definitely something that he's one of his top traits going into the 2017 college football season. A couple things I'd like to see him work on are his route running underneath. I think he keeps his hips and his shoulders pretty high through that, so he's real rounded to make breaks. He can't really sink his hips and cut quickly, so that's something I want to see him work at, to be able to transition to the NFL level. Additionally, I think he needs to add some strength as a blocker, especially if he's struggling to sort of win one-on-ones just head-on with South Dakota State's opponents. I'm not sure he can make the immediate jump to the NFL level as a blocker. But right now, his body control, his hands, his vertical receiving ability, you can find a role for that very early on in your NFL career. So that concludes the first episode of Y Option, looking at Dallas Goedert's body control. Any comments, questions, suggestions for me, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at dbryan_Dukarm. For everyone here at Inside the Pylon, I'm Ryan Dukarm. Thanks for tuning in.